Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thanks for tuning into the video. And for this one, I'm sitting in the 2022 Hyundai Kona Electric in limited trim. And I want to share with you my likes and dislikes about this electric vehicle so that you have a better idea before you buy. And if at any point during this video you learn something, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and especially that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. Any likes, any feedback that you can provide will help this channel out immensely, and it's going to keep me sitting on the passenger side of cars, providing you my likes and dislikes about all the new cars that you could buy today, just like this Kona Electric. And there's a lot I like about this car. The best thing I like about it is the electric vehicle nature of it. This Kona Electric is a subcompact crossover with an estimated range of 258 miles, and it retails for $42,500 before destination. The 258-mile range is very average when compared to other EVs, but it certainly isn't bad at all. I consider that to be the industry standard. It's a reasonable range for commuting purposes and long enough if you need to occasionally take this on short road trips. For example, to go from New York City to Washington, D.C., that's a 226-mile trip, and you can do that on a single charge, no sweat. Just charge it up full when you get to your destination. This range is certainly much more usable when compared to a more budget-friendly option like the Nissan Leaf S, and that car has a range of 149 miles. And you can see with that car, you have to chop up your road trips with more charging sessions. Now, according to Hyundai, for the Kona Electric with a level 2 charging system, which is what you normally have installed in your home, that should take about 9 hours and 15 minutes to fill up. With a level 3 50 kilowatt quick charge system, to get from 10% to 80%, that'll take you 64 minutes to charge, while a level 3 100 kilowatt quick charge system will get the job done in 47 minutes. Now, when you're not driving around with range anxiety and time and schedule anxieties, I think you'll have a pretty good time driving this Kona Electric around because it has a pretty powerful 150 kilowatt electric motor. That equates to 201 horsepower. Peak torque is 291 pound-feet, meaning that this is a pretty quick car, even though it has a 3,800 pound curb weight, which is deceptively heavy for a car of this size. Now, according to Car and Driver, this car goes from 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds. That's 0.2 seconds quicker than the gasoline version. And anytime you're in the 6-second range for that 0 to 60 time, you're in a pretty quick car. I also like how you can change how this car drives. If you're trying to maximize that sporting feel all the time, you can put this car into sport mode. Now with sport mode, the throttle response, if you can still call it that, is so much more immediate. There's an instantaneous response when you press on the right pedal and you get this sudden rush of acceleration. This Kona Electric will actually screech the front tires if you want to. There's also an eco driving mode, which I find the most comfortable because it kind of mimics a traditional car more. So the acceleration is more like a gasoline engine car, and when you slow down or coast, it's going to react the same way. And with normal mode, the Kona Electric drives like what you would expect an EV to feel like. It feels reasonably quick, and you can also emulate that one pedal driving experience because there's a good amount of regen braking with this driving mode. Regenerative braking is an electric vehicle trait where when you're slowing down or coasting or going downhill, you're actually turning the electric motor into a generator, and it's generating electricity to be stored in the battery for later use. And you can tweak the level of regen braking in this car by using the buttons behind the steering wheel. These buttons are normally used to change gears in other cars, but in this case, the left paddle increases the regen braking and the right paddle reduces it. So you can change how this car drives. If you're driving on a highway for a very long time, you could lower that regen braking so that you could coast more easily. And if you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, well, then bump up that regen braking so that you could emulate that one pedal driving. And when you're slowing down, you don't even have to touch your mechanical brakes. And that's another benefit of these EVs, is that the brakes, the discs and the pads is going to have a much longer life because you're not really using them as much. What I also like about this Kona Electric is that it feels like a normal car. Some EVs try to modernize the experience by having unique steering wheels, weird gear shifters, extra stalks or none at all, and an odd looking user interface. There's very little of that strangeness here. You have a normal round steering wheel, normal physical turn stalks, and very standard buttons and switches. If you want to jump into an EV without all the tech gimmicks, then the Kona Electric is a good choice. The button-style transmission might be new to some, but Hyundai has been doing this in a lot of their other cars for the past few years. Now, the good thing about this button-style transmission is that it opens up the cabin slightly so it looks more spacious. This floating center console with available storage underneath also helps in making this subcompact crossover look a bit roomy as well. As for the rest of the interior, the 10.25-inch infotainment display in the center is a touchscreen and it works well. The display is nice and crisp. This is the larger display. If you get the SEL trim, you're going to get the smaller 8-inch touchscreen. It doesn't look or sit as nicely on this panel, but there is something much nicer about that display that I'll share a bit later. Moving down the center console, you'll find a wireless charger and a USB port in the hidden compartment. And below that, you'll find the transmission buttons, some cup holders, and a series of buttons for the heated and ventilated seats, drive mode, and heated steering wheel. This is the more expensive limited trim, so you have all of these features as well as the sunroof. If you go with the SEL trim, some of these panels are going to be blanked out. As for the seats, they feel pretty comfortable. The limited model has leather seats with heated and ventilated seat features. It does feel pretty nice for those cold winter and hot summer days. And as for the back seats, it's not as pleasant. First of all, this is a subcompact crossover, so already you're not going to have as much legroom when compared to bigger and longer crossovers. But what's bad here is how high the floor is situated. I think it sits high so that Hyundai can fit the battery pack right below. So when you're sitting back here, it feels like you're sitting in a very low chair. Your knee sits higher than your hip and it just feels uncomfortable the moment you sit down. I wouldn't want to sit here for very long. Cargo space is also on the small side, but again, that's really the nature of these subcompact crossovers. So depending on your life situation, if you have to carry strollers with you everywhere, I'd go with something a little bit bigger than this. Now, what I like the least about this car is the price. $42,500 is a lot to ask from a subcompact crossover. And just for reference, the gasoline version of this car starts at less than half the price at $21,000. Now, EVs are going to be more expensive because it's going to use parts that are more hard to source and produce. But at $42,500, I think it's still too much to ask for a car of this size, considering that the base trim of this car, the SEL, starts at $34,000. And at that price point, I actually think that's a really good deal, considering that you still get the same hardware. You still get the 201 horsepower electric motor. You still get the same electric range, 258 miles. It is a more basic offering, but if you want some additional comfort, there's a $3,500 convenience package, and that's going to add the heated seats, sunroof, and other nice little features. The other big reason to go with the SEL trim, for me anyway, is that you'll get the smaller 8-inch touchscreen, which looks worse, but it gets you wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. To me, that's more important than getting a bigger touchscreen like this one. Now, this is something odd that Hyundai has been doing for several years, is that their more expensive trims don't get you wireless Apple CarPlay or wireless Android Auto. There are workarounds to this. There are some dongles that you could plug into your USB to get wireless connections, but my experience with them has been less than okay. So overall, would I recommend the Kona Electric? Absolutely. If you plan on buying the SEL trim, the core driving experience is the same, which is the most important thing. The Kona Electric has a decent range and the driving dynamics is also pretty good. Just like most EVs, this is going to handle well because of its low center of gravity. The ride quality is not bad either for a car of this size, weight, and shape. It doesn't have the cushy ride quality that you could find in a Lexus, but it certainly is a lot better than other subcompact crossovers. During this time, I've really enjoyed driving this Kona Electric. This drives very much like a traditional car. If this is going to be your first EV, The weird thing to get used to is the regen braking, but that's to be expected if you're jumping into any EVs. But the nice thing about this car is that you could easily change that driving experience on the fly via those paddles. This car also has some nice EV design features, like having the charging port at the front bumper. This makes it so much easier to connect the charging ports, considering that those cables can be on the short side. There's also a battery gauge display by the port, so you can quickly glance at how full you are. And then there's other software related charging and battery maintenance tools, like setting charging limits and operating in winter mode to help prolong your battery life. And another nice feature with all of these Hyundai electric vehicles is that there's a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty on the battery. That's a nice safety net to have. Well, there you have it. That's my review of the 2022 Hyundai Kona Electric. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've learned something, again, hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. I'll wrap it up right there. My name is Hanson. This has been the Kona Electric, and I'll see you next time.